We'll call the Board of Public Works meeting of Monday, February 15th to order. Number 2, approval of minutes of February 1st. Motion by Mr. Fisher, second by Mr. Fire. Comments or questions? All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, motion carries. We'll move on. No citizens here, so we'll move on to number 4. Approval of street sweeper purchase for the street division, presented by Chris Hawley, Street Superintendent. Chris.
Good morning, everybody, or good afternoon, everybody. And tonight I'm here to present purchase of a new regenerative air sweeper for the street division to replace unit number 77, which is 10 years old with over 8,300 hours on it. Right now, and since 2017, we've put over $60,000 in maintenance and repairs. Some of those repairs are electronics. The last 2 years, computer goes out and they have to have the salesman come over, the equipment technician come over, and that's usually about $1,000 alone just to reset the computer and diagnose it, find out where the short and the wires are. We put new sweeper fans in it, a new pickup head, rebuilding screens, and in the old 77 sweeper is a 2-engine system, a tier 4 engine system, and we have a lot of problems with regenerating on that. And of course, when you have 2 engines, you have multiple engines to maintain. The sweeper is a vital piece of equipment needed to meet the requirements of the DNR for street sweeping and catch basin cleaning for our stormwater discharge permit. And it's also used in the fall for leaf collection, which is a requirement of our recycling grant, which is used for composting. Both Envirotech and McQueen equipment are members of Sourcewell, a national joint purchasing program, and has been awarded contracts with Sourcewell for this equipment. What that means is basically we went to each company, Envirotech and McQueen, and asked them to give us a bid on the sweeper purchase, and then we went back to Sourcewell to make sure it was the best price we could get, and they confirmed that. We did demonstrate both units, and we're very impressed with each sweeper. The Johnson sweeper stood out in the following categories. It has a little bit more chassis leg room, 300-gallon water tank versus a 240-gallon water tank, which allows for more sweeper time. An 8.5-foot cubic yard hopper versus an 8-foot cubic yard hopper. Again, this allows more sweeping time before emptying. And also has door panel controls, allowing the operator better overall vision during the operations, a little bit safer for the operator. One of the quotes that I got was with a 5-year warranty for both units. Talking with each salesman, they very seldom sell these 5-year warranties to municipalities. Maybe 90 to 95% of the time they might sell one to them. And the reason being is the Johnson, for example, comes with a standard 2-year warranty on the sweeper itself and a lifetime warranty on the hopper and hopper box. And it also has a 5-year warranty on the fluid coupler gear case. The new sweeper is a single engine sweeper operated by hydraulics. So you have less maintenance because of a single engine instead of the dual engine. And so with all that information, staff recommends the board approve the purchase of the Johnson RS655 sweeper from Envirotech Equipment. If the board is in agreement, the following motion may be made. Motion to approve the purchasing of the Johnson RS655 from Envirotech Equipment without the extended 5-year warranty for $241,000. I'll entertain any questions.
What's your pleasure? Motion by Mr. Fire. Second by Mr. Rosendin. Comments or questions? Mr. Bargander.
Thank you, Chair. I went over this and I studied it pretty closely here over the weekend and stuff. I don't have a problem with replacing our existing unit by any means. My concern is that the low trade-in value of only $10,000. $10,000 amounts to about 4% of the purchase price of a brand new sweeper. I believe that we would be much better off putting the sweeper up for sale on municipal, and I'm sure we can get more than $10,000 for it. I'm sure there's some small municipalities looking for a sweeper that can't afford $250,000. So if anyone else has any comments, please go ahead. Otherwise, I would make a motion to amend the purchase of this, not to include the trade-in and to put that our existing sweeper on municipal bid. Thank you.
Do I have a second? Mr. Fisher. Question that I would have is what's the price going to be then?
251 then. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So
any other comments?
I just have one other comment
Yep,
too.
go ahead, Chris.
Both salesmen had said, because we use our sweeper basically in the springtime when it quits freezing to the fall when it starts freezing, we use it in 2 shifts, and they were both mentioned that while you got a lot of hours 8,600 hours on a 10-year-old piece of equipment, it's quite a bit. So
Dan?
Just wanted to mention one other thing. Chris did a lot of work on getting these pricing packages together, but he also looked at the option of leasing a sweeper. He got pricing from all these vendors on what it would take to lease a sweeper. In the end, we chose not to go that route. Of course, it's a little bit more expensive if you do the math over 5 years. And as we had our finance director analyze it, he pointed out that there's always an interest rate that comes with this, and they don't give you all the details, but in his assessment, it was probably a 3 or 4% interest rate that we would have paid through a lease scenario. Said our M&E fund is not cash poor, so it's not a matter of not having the money to pay for it. And if we didn't have the money, we'd be better off borrowing, pay for it than to pay the 3 or 4% lease rate interest as part of that package. So anyway, I just want to point out that Chris did a lot of homework on this to get to the final answer on it. So appreciate all that work.
Mr. Fire.
I have a question. Along with this trade-in, does the maintenance info go with it? Do the people know that what they're buying, what the problems you had with it?
basically, when we put it out on Wisconsin Surplus, it states in there, you should come and look at it, number one. We can probably let them know if somebody comes and looks at it. And then also, it basically states buy as is.
Mr. Rosendin.
What's the price for these that are selling used, like with this kind of condition?
Well, as you can
Know
see,
that?
Elgin was a little bit higher because Elgin's request was the $20,000 trade-in, but they deal with Elgin. So I would assume that they'll probably have to stick maybe $10,000 into it to get it out and ready to go for the next buyer.
How long are they sitting out there if we're going to try to sell it?
Well, they don't sit out very long if they're in good shape. If you hang on to them in that 5 to 7 years, they pretty much have buyers waiting for them. I don't know the answer to that once they get up in the age and hours that they're at right now.
Anybody else? I will say I dropped my computer. I will say when I worked in Abbotsford, as of course, and Mr. Bargender, I think you're accurate there. These small towns, I don't think they ever bought a new piece of equipment over there because they couldn't afford it. The other thing is they don't use it as much as what we would, certainly because of the miles and stuff, you know. So I think there's some merit in that. But anybody else got any other comments, Dan?
Just that we need to vote on the amendment first and then on the vote.
Yep. Any comments before we vote on the amendment? All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
I will do an aye. Opposed?
No.
3-2. Okay. Now motion to approve the original motion. Mr. Bargander, second.
We did have
Go ahead, Dan.
we did have a motion on the original motion, so now
Yeah, we did. Yeah, you're right.
the action would be to approve that original motion
Yes.
as amended.
Yep, it was. You're right. Thank you.
All we need is the vote.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Number 5, approval of final assessments for Cleveland Street reconstruction, Central Avenue to Daggy Street, and related project. Presented by Tom Turchi, city engineer. Tom.
All right, these are for the Cleveland Street project that was completed in 2020. Project 312241 was street construction, 312242 water main and service laterals, and 316777 storm sewer, which is not accessible, and 352144 sanitary sewer service laterals for Cleveland Street, central to Daggy, Chestnut Avenue central to Blodgett Street, Oak Avenue, Cleveland to Blodgett Street, and Pine Avenue, Cleveland to Blodgett Street. What we have is I have a table of the background for the final accessible items. And I noticed as I was going through this today, I just noticed that 2 of them are mistyped, and I will clarify those right away too, and I get those. The frontage for the final assessment is $30.74. And this was reduced due to input from local road improvement funding, wastewater treatment plant towards road repairs, and Marshfield Utilities water main towards road repairs. If we did not have that funding, the assessable rate would have been just about $61 per linear foot. The signage for businesses was $23.06 per linear foot. And the signage for residential is $15.37 per linear foot. Concrete driveways were actually $51.70 per linear square yard. And 6-inch sanitary sewer laterals were $33 per linear foot. Of that, we had 50 sanitary sewer laterals replaced on this project. And part of the sanitary sewer pilot program for lateral replacement, where we incentivize homeowners to replace their lateral from where we finish in the right of way to their home. We had 17 of these residents on the project take advantage of this, or 34% of the homeowners on this project. And they're kind of noted as the yellow boxes on the spreadsheets that's attached. So that was a pretty good replacement total for that. 4-inch concrete sidewalk, final accessible cost was $471 per square foot. 6-inch was $691 per square foot. 8-inch concrete sidewalk was $801 per square foot. 1-inch curb stops were $407 each, and 1-inch copper water service laterals were $31.90 per linear foot. 1.5-inch curb stops were $660 each, and 1 1/2-inch copper water service laterals were $44 per linear foot. Enclosed with this memo is a table of the individual final assessments for each parcel. The majority of the final assessments were less than estimated. One property on West Blodgett Street was not included within the special assessment district, but received a new sanitary sewer lateral. This parcel on Blodgett Street has a sanitary sewer lateral that crosses its neighboring property and enters the sanitary sewer main on Chestnut Avenue. I will need to schedule a public hearing and create a revised final resolution to be approved by the Common Council to include this property before we can issue their final special assessment. So therefore, I'd recommend approval of the final assessments for the following projects: 312241 street construction, 312242 water main and service laterals, 316777 storm sewer, 352144 sanitary sewer service laterals. And I further recommend that a public hearing be held and a revised final assessment resolution be created and approved by the council to include the property at 113 West Blodgett Street prior to mailing their final special assessment.
Motion by Mr. Fisher, second by Mr. Rosendich. Comments or questions? Mr. Bargander.
Thank you, Chair. Tom, I noticed the curb stops, you guys are way off on the estimates. Any reason for that?
It's how the contractor bid it. I used the bid prices that we had last year and added a 10% contingency to it. And this year they bid it at a different cost. So it may have been the parts are more expensive. So it's, I'm trying to do a best guess estimate before we actually open bids for these.
Sure. I guess I get it that you even bid it a little, you allow 10%. Plus, but this is really off. It's off considerably.
But that's the way
was anyone concerned about it?
Well, if you consider it compared to the overall special assessments, those are probably pretty minor in the overall big scheme of thing. And when you're more concerned about what the actual street costs are going to be and driveway costs and some of the bigger items versus just one piece. So, and if you notice there, I highlighted in the form, there was only like 4 or 5 properties that were actually larger, had final assessments that were larger than what was estimated, and they were fairly small numbers.
Thank you.
Would it be wise, Tom, to, if we know there's other projects coming, to buy ahead of time for future projects?
Well,
I don't know
Yeah.
if that's feasible. I'm just throwing it out there.
so when we bid this, we bid it as you purchased the product and installed cost. So, it's hard to say whether or not we get any better prices. It could have been a supply issue.
This time
or-
it would have been.
Yeah, it could have been a supply issue. It's hard to say.
Yeah, okay. All right. We need a vote, right?
We do have a motion.
Okay, all set? Any other questions? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Number 6, recommended items for future agendas. Anybody have anything they want brought up? Okay, motion to adjourn by Mr. Bargander, second by Mr. Fisher. Thank you, we are adjourned.